Today we have as our facilitator Vivian Idepefo. I mean, Vivian, today you would have to teach me how to pronounce your name. She's going to take us through.
You got it. Idepefo.
Oh, okay. I got it. All right. Thank you so much. So, Vivian, you will introduce yourself to us, even though we know you already and we know your capacity. You will introduce yourself and then the topic that we are treating today. Sorry for keeping you waiting and starting this late. Now you can take over. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Clement, and welcome everyone. Sorry for the glitches. We know what it is with internet connectivity. My name is Vivian Idepefo. I work with the Nigerian Television Authority. It is a state-owned media run by the federal government of Nigeria. I am the head of reportorial for NTA Parliament. We have a parliamentary station. All and everything we do is dedicated to the legislature. So I am the head of reportorial there. I have worked as a journalist for 28 years, going on 29. And I've cut across different sectors or different strata of governance, executive, the legislature, judiciary, and crime. So that basically, that is just it. So today we are looking at we will be looking at the sorry, I don't want to mix up the topic. I was reading something else before I came in. So efficient and effective ways of covering regional parliaments, such as the Pan-African Parliament, for which this particular forum was set up. Other regional parliaments like the ECOWAS Parliament, the East African Legislative Assembly, the South Africa Development, South Africa, yes, SADC Parliamentary Forum, yes, and all that. So also that of the North Africa, I've forgotten how they call theirs now, but basically that is what we are looking at, effective and efficient ways of covering regional parliaments. And I would say that it is not any different. I am not in control of my slides. Can I share my slides? Okay, like I can do that.
You'll be giving
now. Yes. I can do that now. Okay. Yes. So where is it? I don't know. Gilbert is not on this. Some pages anyway when we get there. So we are looking at. No, I'm good. I'm good now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So effective and efficient ways of covering regional parliamentary bodies. I would say that covering the regional parliamentary bodies is no different from how we cover the national assemblies of our countries, because it's basically the same thing that they do, just slight variations, maybe because you have a large number of people from different countries that make up that region of Africa, or your country of Africa, you know, making up that regional parliament. So you could have the difference in language, and then just slight differences, but parliamentary practice is there's standard everywhere around the globe. So in reporting parliamentary coverages, we will look at the skills that you would need, which would be something like having the ability to be a fast listener, fast and hard listener. You would also be very good at note taking, because you would need to be able to write quickly or type quickly these days that we have handheld devices. You will also need to also make use of digital tools like your midget for audio recording, maybe your phone, your handset, if you could put that on record mode. You could also use your handset for video recording as well. Then you have your cameras, your mics, and all that. But one skill that you will need is to be a very good listener, because parliamentary debates generally about people talking, different sides putting their arguments on the table or before the chamber. So you will need to be a very good listener to be able to follow the discourse. We did talk about this in the other session, being a good listener. You will also be able to structure your notes in such a way that it will be easy for you to understand. And then you would it will be good for you if you are able to develop your own shorthand, so you understand what you're writing, and that enables you to also write quickly if you are doing the hard copy, like some of us still do with notepads and with the pen, so taking notes that way. Then you could use symbols, you could use colors, you could use quotes or statistics or things like that to make your major highlights. Then you will summarize, because there are so many things that are being talked about at the same time. So you should be able to develop that skill for summarization, to be able to condense all those long speeches, all those so much explanations, all those examples that they will give into just something very short that captures the essence of the whole message the legislator or the parliamentarian was making or is making. Then you could have quotes, because when you listen, you are able to pick something that could stand out. So you have the ability to capture those quotes that stand out for you. And like we said the other time, we talked about being objective. So you would need to also be super objective, stay objective, because you need to maintain impartiality, and this in presenting your facts and quotes as they are without adding your own personal bias. And that means me as well, not adding my own personal bias. We have talked about the use of technology, our handheld devices, our cameras, our streaming devices, and all that. And then because of the fast-paced environment where that governs the parliamentary space, you will need to also be able to be very quick in thinking and writing in your practice note taking in such a way that you don't leave much, there isn't much gap. The information you are writing down, it's not lost. Because if you are not used to operating in an environment that could have so many distractions, you would lose out on so much information that is being passed around on the floor of the chamber while the debates are going on. So you need to practice speed. This you can do in your private time as well. Even like you try, for all of us, I take it that we work in the news environment, in a production place. So you have the TVs on, you have the radios on, you have the streaming devices on, all the noise is coming to you from different directions, but you are able to just keep focused on what you're doing. You're writing your reports, you are editing, let's say you are a film editor. If you are able to edit your films by yourself, you're writing your report, you're talking with your colleagues, but you are still focused on the stories that you are editing, picking your track ups and having the chest captions put appropriately, and listening to your cue in and cue out for your track ups, because you know where you want to start, you know where you want the respondents to end. So being very good with speed and being a fast listener and being attentive at the same time will be very useful and very handy. Then you should also be able to review and edit after every session. That is just to ensure that your content is accurate. So we need to minimize errors. Like I tell my colleagues, the media is a very strong weapon. It could either foster unity and peace of an environment of the society, or it could cause the peace to break. And we don't want to be the ones that are the reason why there is a breakdown of law and order. So you just cross-check your notes to be sure that the information you have is the correct information. And that you could do by liaising with your colleagues. You know, we cross-reference with our colleagues. I was here. What did this person say? Did you get what XYZ said? And all that. So just to be sure that you get it right. And then if you are recording, you could always fall back on what you have recorded to be sure that what you jotted down, you didn't misplace, because we could misplace information as well. So that we didn't misplace the information. It is in the right place it's supposed to be. And one skill you need for effective and efficient coverage of regional bodies is to stay informed. You know, you keep yourself updated on parliamentary procedures, the key figures as events unfold, the relevant issues. So you have a better understanding. You are able to report on the debate better. You are able to report the contributions of other, or arguments of other parliamentarians better. If you are not informed, you are not up to date on what is happening, then you would not be able to follow the trend of the discussion. And because you are not able to follow the trend of the discussion, you are not able to give the accurate information. Remember that as media practitioners, one of our responsibilities is to deliver accurate information, because the public depends on us to give them this information. It enables them to take decisions. It enables them to participate in governance. And so we need to have our information right. And so we need to also be abreast. Now, one thing I do to be updated on what is happening in my parliament, they have their social media websites. You have some key people that run parliamentary updates. Like we have a colleague from Sierra Leone. I don't know if he's on this particular meeting. He has this parliamentary update group. So what he does as it's happening in parliament, everybody, both parliamentary reporters and non-parliamentary reporters, are on that platform, and he drops that information. So if you have access to something like that, you are up to date. You are conversant with the issues, you are conversant with the topics, and you are conversant with the language as well. So it enables you to understand what happens better. Then we talked about collaboration, where you collaborate with your colleagues and to cross-verify information and fill in the gaps as you may need. And then meeting deadlines. Parliamentary reports often have tight deadlines. Well, maybe that's the nature of parliament activity. So always working towards a deadline. And as news people, we are always working towards a deadline. We have a news bulletin that will come up at 3 p.m. local time. So everybody's working towards that time. We have our colleagues in plenary. They will send something like a script over that will be used for that 3 p.m. bulletin. That script over is just a highlight of what has happened in Parliament so far. And then they send in pictures or pictures or videos that could be used on that. And where there are no pictures, we just develop graphics that will be rolled along with that report when the newscaster is reading it, just so that we have the people informed as activities unfold, as events unfold on the floor of the legislature, whether it is the Senate as it is obtained in Nigeria, the Senate and the House of Representatives. So in conclusion, let's note that effective parliamentary reporting not only serves to inform the public, but also plays a crucial role in holding elected officials accountable. So what is the importance of accuracy, fairness, and impartiality in parliamentary reporting? Accuracy, fairness, and impartiality in parliamentary reporting. Is it possible for journalists who report to the parliament or in the political space to remain accurate, to remain fair, to be impartial in the course of their day-to-day activity? The other time, we had a lot of people say, yes, it is my job to remain objective. yes, I am supposed to just put the information out, but I always say it's easier said than practiced. But we will also always need to like pinch ourselves, like, hey, I'm supposed to just be like the middle person, just bring the information and put it there and let the public decide what to do with the information. So in parliamentary reporting, accuracy, fairness, and impartiality, it is important for some of the reasons that are underlisted, one of which is informed democracy, because accurate reporting ensures that the citizens have access to reliable information about government activities. In this instance, we're talking about parliamentary activities and decisions, the bills that are passed, the motions that are moved, the resolutions that are made or reached on the floor of the chambers. This empowers them to make informed choices in elections and engage in the democratic process. So also it helps with accountability. Being fair, being impartial helps with accountability, because it helps the society to hold elected officials accountable for their actions and decisions. So if as a reporter, you are inaccurate in the information that you put out there, you are kind of misleading the people in how they hold the elected officials accountable. And then the reporters also, or journalists also need to know that they themselves should be accountable for their actions, for the kind of information that they put out there. So it is important to know it at the back of our minds that we are also accountable for how the public perceives the legislature and the activities that go on in the chambers. Then it is also very important that we maintain a free, fair, and impartial attitude in our way of reporting parliamentary activities because of trust. There is no way we can make progress without trust. So we need the trust of the people. We need the people to trust the process, to trust the system, to trust the institutions, and to trust the legislature, and by extension, the legislators, as we are, is our space. And so it is important that we are fair and we are impartial, and just let them make the decisions as to what to do with the information that we put out there. And credibility, accuracy, and fairness are essentials for credibility, both for the reporter and also the media organization. Why is this so? People should be able to say that because XYZ has carried this kind of information or put out the news there, then it is true. Or because it is XYZ that is the reporter, then it is true. Why? Because over time, you have been known to be a purveyor of something that is true and not a purveyor of falsehood. And because you are someone that is known for credibility, you are a credible person, your medium is known for putting out information that is credible, then at every point, the people will rush to you. Then you have your reputation protected. But once you have a reputation that the people cannot trust, then it's a major problem. It's just a major problem. And that is one thing that society is grappling with now, that everyone has become an emergency, I call it emergency journalist in this era of social media. Everyone wants to put the information out there. Everyone wants to be the first to have put that information. I got the scoop. And so even without verification, they just go straight ahead and publish and then start making retractions. That is not good. The norm is this, and the message has always been that when in doubt, you leave out. And you confirm. And if you are still in doubt, then you leave it out totally. That saves you. And it's better that you are late in putting out the information than you put out an information that at the end of the day it's something that you need to start retracting. And that is not so healthy, because when you retract once, retract twice, it becomes, these people, no, they are not the type that you will take to the markets, they are not bankable. So that is not good. Credibility is very important for you as a person, as a practitioner, and for your media outlets. Then we talk of balance. We need both sides. We need both sides. So we need both sides, hear both sides of the divide, because you can't take the information of just one person and then put it out there. What of the side of the other person? The other side also needs to tell its own story, so that the public that we are feeding this information, they are able to make their own judgments. It's all about the public. And then we also avoid misinformation when we strike a balance. We avoid misinformation. And as it is standard practice everywhere, I want to believe so, there are ethical standards. Every profession has its ethical standards. And so for us in journalism, we also have our ethical standards. What are the ethical standards of journalistic practice in your country? You should try to be up to date on your ethical standards. That way you will not fall foul of the law, and you will just be good. And then take into consideration the legal environment. Accurate and fair reporting can help protect your media outlets and the journalist himself from legal consequences, such as libel and slander charges. A lot of people, because they are eager, to be the one with the scoop, and do not even bother to verify and go out there. So many end up with legal charges on them. We have several examples in Nigeria, and I know that you have several examples in your countries too. No matter the names that we call them, we just need to know that in operating, there are legal considerations to be taken into cognizance, so as to protect ourselves and also protect our media outlets. Parliamentary reporting often shapes public discourse and influences people's debate of policies. Their biased or inaccurate reporting can hinder productive discussions and decision making. So we know that in reporting parliamentary activity, we should also be very, very conscious of that. Social cohesion as well, and also our international reputation. We have international media organizations that we say, if it is on, let's say, CNN, or if the BBC carried it, if SABC carried it, if Al Jazeera carried it, if this. So it's because they have built a reputation over the years. So they are now held to a certain standard. They cannot drop from that. And so also are we in our corner building reputation for ourselves. And because we are dealing with international parliamentarians, so to speak, because they are parliamentarians from different countries pulled together at the regional level. So we need to also take into cognizance our reputation across the borders of our country. Now, if I have contact with a parliamentarian, let's say from Ghana, and his opinion of me at the end of the day is not so good, when he meets with someone from my country, I have succeeded in putting an opinion about ourselves that is not so good, because he had first contact with me or had a contact with me, and I have like giving myself a reputation that does not stand so well with him. And then I also have put the reputation of my media organization on the line, which perhaps may be something that is my personal life, my personal view, my personal way of doing things. But because I did not caution myself while dealing with somebody from another country, then I like affected the reputation of my own organization as well. So we should always adhere to accurate and impartial reporting, as this can enhance a country's international reputation and demonstrates a commitment to democratic values and freedom of press. So we've talked about accuracy, fairness, impartiality in parliamentary reporting, which are essential for healthy democracy and informed citizenry and the credibility of media organizations. So these principles, we all know, ensure that the public receives reliable, unbiased, and truthful information about the functioning of the democratic space, and in this instance, the legislature. So we now look at research and preparation for parliamentary coverage. You would like to consider certain techniques, which would be something like conducting research on parliamentary activities and the legislative agenda as required, which requires a standard approach. So you would be looking at something like online resources. You look at their official websites, you look at their social media handles, you also look at their presiding officers, their handles and all that. Then you will also want to get material from the library, maybe your local library, a university library, or the the library of the National Assembly of your country. And in this instance, because we're talking about regional parliaments, the regional parliaments, I want to believe, have their own library as well. So that will also be a good place to look for material or resources as you do your research preparatory to covering a session. And if you have access to some key figures who could give you an idea of what the other paper would look like, then it will also help you to do research and look at what the countries that make up that regional parliament, what will be their possible position on certain items that are on that other paper. And if you have friends from those regional parliaments, it wouldn't be a bad idea to also reach out to 1, 2, 3 of them to be able to sound out their opinion or the possible position that their countries would be taking on those items or on those subjects that are on the other paper or would be on the other paper. Another place that you could also do your research or look to is academic databases like JSTOR, ProQuest, Google Scholar, academics and all that. And you do research on legislative topics. You could also employ the services of legislative tracking services, where you have organizations that are focused on legislative activities. And so you could register, visit their websites or their social media handles. And if you have persons that you know that work with those organizations that provide those services, you could link up with them to be able to track these legislative services or legislative activities. For us in Nigeria, we have, I'm happy Lizzie is on this. Lizzie works with the other paper. That is the name of her organization. And it is one organization in Nigeria that is charting the costs for tracking of legislative activities. You know, the number of bills, how many women or female like presented their bills, sponsored their bills, how many were males, the northern parts of the country, north central, and south and all that. Other paper is very good with that. We also have plaque, which is also working with the legislature here in Nigeria. We have CISLAC and a host of others. And we are hoping that APPN Nigeria Caucus will also join that list someday, you know, where we track legislative activities, and then we are a resource hub for people looking for such information. Then your news media is another place that you could also engage in resource mobilization when data and all that. You look to government reports, interviews conducted with legislators or parliamentarians. You could make friends with legislative staff, legislative aides, and also experts in the field for first-hand insights into what you are researching. And if you're in the academics, it will also be good to sound out your academic colleagues and also your lecturers, as the case may be. Then we talked about following their social media handles. So historical analysis, comparative analysis, and data analysis. When you have all those, you have resources from all those sources, then you could sit down to start analyzing the historical trend. You could do a comparative analysis between legislative agenda of, let's say, the 4th session or the 5th session of the ECOWAS Parliament and the 4th session of the ECOWAS Parliament. Or you could do a comparative analysis of the SADC Parliamentary Forum, data analysis like that. So content analysis as well, which involves analyzing speeches, debates, and documents to understand language and rhetorics used. And this, because when you do content analysis, you'll be amazed at you would get at the end of the day how areas has it evolved over the years. And then public opinion research. You could use also a legal research if it involves so you could make use of the office of the clerk, the secretary general of your regional parliament, and case laws. Also, you collaborate at researchers, organizations, and insights. So it is pertinent to remember to document your sources so that you could also always credit them with that structured approach, and you stay up system going now. Okay, so we look at strategies for preparing and organizing materials for enhanced and efficient reporting or coverage of regional parliaments. So what exactly are you focusing on? What is the bill that you want to focus on? What is the issue or the trending issue at that time? And the overall legislative process regarding that particular objective. So you also create your research plan. You use parliamentary resources, which we have talked about earlier, and then you compile a schedule, creating a timeline, tracking important sessions, debates, and committee meetings, which you have a plan to cover and also public. So you also gather background info, do your research, whether by historical and context, history and context of legislative matters that you are interested in, and you provide a meaningful context to it and use in your coverage. And then remember to stay organized using tools like spreadsheet databases or note-taking apps, which we talked about at the opening, to keep track of information, to keep track of your sources, and also to mark your progress. You develop a checklist. By this, you have your questions or topics to address during your coverage, or if you're having an interview session, to enable you to have enough data to play around with. Then you utilize parliamentary contacts, which we have talked about earlier, and then you engage in networking. And I think this is one area that we journalists are not doing very well in. When we attend events, we are just interested in covering and then we move. But I will say that we should try to be part of the events as well, and network, so that we have the contacts, we keep the contacts, and even after those events, we keep the communication lines open, so that anytime we need information, we could always go back. We shouldn't just be friends today and then tomorrow we are no longer friends. But I like what we are doing on APPN. A lot of us have not met in person, but we interact and we back chat, getting information, asking for information from the other person, and getting it as if we have met in person. And so let me commend the organizers of APPN, that's the PNA, for setting up this platform. It has really, for me as a person, it has helped my work in parliamentary coverage, and it has helped me in also getting the programs that I handle to be on track. And so I commend the PNA and the organizers, the founders of APPN for that. I've met a lot of colleagues and we keep touch like we have met before. I think I've met not more than maybe 4, 5, 6 people, but I have interactions with more than 15 people, and we have not met even physically. So that is something that we should learn to do to keep the communication lines open. Then a thematic focus. You have a thematic focus. You decide whether you will focus on a particular theme, the issue that is within that parliamentary proceeding. Then remember the use of multimedia, because in this age and this era, you can't limit yourself to just one media tool. We use a connectivity of several tools now, so it will be good. And if you are not vast in the use of multimedia, perhaps it would be a good idea to start getting your hands trained on the use of multimedia tools, so that it makes your work easy and it makes you very, very vibrant and very vast. So you establish clear channels and determine where and how you want to publish your coverage or your material, whether it is through a blog, the social media, the traditional media, and all that. For me, I work with the traditional media, a state-owned media enterprise. So whatever I'm doing, I'm not very good with social media except for my personal use. So maybe I should try to up my game with the social media, you know. Okay, I have Modesta. I think I should give her that job, you know. So Modesta, you have a job with me. So you also data collection and analysis, and prepare for your interviews. You know what you want to talk about. Have a topic, the theme, the focus of that topic or the theme, and then your questions are tailored around that. It helps you to keep focused. You are not talking just this way, left, right, and center. You are focused on particular things, and then your respondent or your interviewee is also able to give you the responses that you want to elicit from him or her. So time management is very important. You allocate time for your research, for your analysis, and also in reporting. For us in the NCA, we try to manage the time of our reports. Like there are special reports that could go for 2 minutes plus, 3 minutes. We have 1 minute plus for just regular news reports. And from the legislature, we could accommodate like up to 3 minutes reports. Our bulletins are usually 1 hour, cutting across the different segments of this governance, the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, and then from the executive, you have the different sectors: agriculture, finance, you have trade and industry, you have crime, you have correctional services, you have CSOs. Then we start grouping them to with women, you have children, you have people with disabilities, you have health. And so all these are packed into a 1 hour bulletin. And so time management is very important. You to allocate to enable you get almost everybody on board that particular bulletin. So time management, very crucial. Excuse me. Excuse me. So you also would like to look at legal and ethical considerations so that you are aware of the legal and ethical guidelines for reporting on those parliamentary activities, and also bear in mind the privacy of the legislators, and also be aware of the defamation laws. Very important. You save yourself standing before a jury, and save your media organization as well. You know, if they are slammed with legal cases now, you will be the first to suffer before they start trying to get themselves, wriggle themselves out of the jaws of the law. So in conclusion, efficiently covering parliamentary activities requires a combination of careful planning, effective research, and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances. But remember to stay flexible and be open to new opportunities as you enhance your coverage of the parliament. Effective parliamentary journalism would consider things like ethical considerations in parliamentary journalism. very crucial for maintaining the integrity and credibility of the profession. So the key principles you would keep in mind, sorry about that break. So one of the things you will keep in mind in being objective is being objective. We talked about objectivity the other time, being objective. So it will be that as journalists, we should strive to present our information in a fair, balanced, and unbiased manner. We need to avoid personal biases and provide a comprehensive view of parliamentary proceedings, which is very, very essential. We should strive to be objective. Objectivity, being neutral as much as possible. We did say the other time that we are not part of the, we are part of the system, and yet we are not part of the system. We are part of the system because we work with them. We are not part of the system because we are reporting on what transpires in the chambers or what transpires at those regional parliaments. So it is important that we remain objective and we also maintain our neutrality. Yes, APPN, you are raising your hand. Okay. So, but if anyone has any question, we are taking questions at the end, right? Okay. So we also avoid conflicts of interest. Somehow, because we are close to them, we tend to have sympathy for some persons, have sympathies for some political parties, have sympathy for certain issues that are being discussed. But we should try to avoid conflicts of interest, because for us, it is important that we maintain our neutrality, that we maintain objectivity. So if we have interest or something that could compromise our impartiality, like financial interest or personal relationships or other factors, you know, we could judge ourselves from such coverages or from such issues. Well, integrity demands that we excuse ourselves if we feel that there is a conflict of interest and we may not be maintaining impartiality. Then we should try to be transparent about our sources and the methods which they use or we use to gather information. And this includes proper attribution of sources and making it clear when information is based on official statements, not claiming that you had the information as a scoop, whereas someone else gave you that information. Always attribute sources. Verification of information, very important. We try to fact check these days, fact check more so because of misinformation that is becoming like the trend, or becoming like a norm, which shouldn't be. So it is our responsibility to fact check every information before we publish it. And we talked about privacy earlier. We should know what the privacy laws are about. And so even on moral grounds, we should respect the privacy of parliamentarians, except where it has to do with public interest. But what does the private life of a parliamentarian have to do with public interest? Maybe their spending habits. Does that eat into public coffers? Are they spending more than what they say they are earning? And if they are spending more than what we know them to be earning, can we verify the sources of that extra income that gives them leverage to spend the way that we feel is not right? But then we should respect their privacy and also independence as well. Journalists should resist undue influence or pressure from political or corporate interests that could compromise their reporting. Can we do that? Because sometimes you have the information that you hear during a public sitting or an investigative hearing Sometimes you have the public relations officers coming around to say, oh, my CEO made a mistake in quoting XYZ figures. So we would like that you take out that part. What do we do at that time? And maybe you have not been offered another figure. And then the other figure that you are offered was not read out before the committee that this organization came before them. So what do you do in that instance? Well, I think that is something that we need to ponder. What do we do with such information? And then they want you to take it out. So what happens? Then for those of us that are with government-owned media, you take out that information, then you see it as a screaming headline on a social media the following day, or even before the close of business that day. Then your boss asks you that, where were you? How come we don't have this information? So that's a crossroad for journalists, right? And media organizations. So we also should bear in mind diversity and inclusivity. We try to reflect the diversity of society by reporting and including diverse voices and perspectives in parliamentary coverage. As I speak right now, we have people at the Senate. The Senate Committee on Women Affairs is sitting. I think that's their inaugural sitting. So they are there right now. We also have the youth in parliament. I think that's what is on that other paper, having their inaugural sitting. So we have a crew there right now, and these will form parts of the bulletin later in the day. That is talking about inclusivity, diversity and inclusivity. Then the other day we had the House of Representatives Committee on Disability, where it had a program for children and people with disabilities as a way of marking the International Day of the Child. That was, which day was it, Monday or Tuesday? I think on Tuesday, yes, I think that was on Tuesday. So that is talking about diversity and inclusivity. And so responsibility, we have to understand the potential impact reporting has on the public opinion and political landscape. And then we ensure that we report in a responsible manner, and we do not incite violence or hate or discrimination against whether the gender, against any religion, against any political entity. So accountability, journalists should be accountable for their work. We talked about it earlier, so I won't be talking about it again, but we cannot overemphasize it. Journalists, as we hold the elected officials accountable, we remember that we are also accountable for our work. And so there is very little or no room at all for errors and corrections. Where there is any error, we should try to correct them as quickly as possible. And that is where we have editorials that we talk about retracting certain stories, offering the corporate apologies to individuals or entities when they make a claim that certain facts were put out wrong about them. And by adhering to these ethical principles, parliamentary journalists can contribute to informed public discourse and maintain the public trust in the media. Are there any questions or any observations? Any questions or any observations, or do we go? We are way behind time. So I will just try to run through some of these slides. The material will be made available on the WhatsApp platform afterwards. So you could engage, and we are still available to take questions and contributions. So strategies for engaging with parliamentarians: you would want to be asking relevant questions, seeking clarifications during interviews or press conferences. And so in engaging with parliamentarians, you would like to, we talked about this before, research your topic thoroughly. And it will also be good for you to research the background of the parliamentarian. What was his or her area of expertise before coming into parliament? That will enable you know how to frame your questions. How is this, how media friendly is this person? And how open is this personality that you want to interview? So in doing your research, you research the topic, you research also the individual. Just as we did a research for the audience that we have today, you remember at the beginning of APPN, we had a survey of people saying what they would like to know in parliamentary coverage. And we had that done. That was the first year. And it is based on that, that's all these curriculum were developed, and we have this training running now. So you research your topic, you research the individual, like doing a needs assessment of what you would require and all that. So you also prepare open-ended questions. Your open-ended questions allow for elaborate discussions. You do not limit your interviewee. But if you go with close-ended questions, then you have limited your interviewee. You have just a question of what will be an example now? Something like, did you understand why, did you raise this motion? And he answers yes. Then yes, what? You know, but you could ask something like, in your opinion, what would you say is XYZ? You know, you could lay out a preamble concerning, let's say, is anybody from the ECOWAS Parliament here? If you are interviewing Lizzie, yes. If you are interviewing, let's say, the Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament, one of or his key project when he took over and after his swearing in was he would like to bequeath a parliament, a people's parliament, a community parliament, where the parliamentarians are voted in individually and not members of the national parliament of the member states. So your question would be how the process is ongoing, and then he will tell you where they are. There was an ad hoc committee set up to that effect. So if you know who the chairman of that ad hoc committee is, you would like to know the work the committee has done so far, the consultations, and the feedback from those consultations, and when these feedback would be presented to plenary or session, so that member states could make inputs, and then when they start going on their advocacy and getting the buy-in of heads of states of the member states, you know, something like that. So something that we get your interviewee to give you adequate or elaborate response. So you prioritize key issues because you start with the very important ones before you go into other. Not that everything is not important, it's important, but of course we know that some things are more important than others. And then you stay informed, keeping up to date with the latest developments in politics and parliamentary proceedings. This will help you to ask clear questions and seek clarifications in an informed manner. You would not be meet with the governor of the central bank of your country and be asking him what he thinks about the price of tomato in the market. You know, that is not the kind of question you ask the central bank governor of your country. So it's the same way. If you have the right information, you have the right people, you know the kind of questions that you would be asking them. Then you use follow-up questions. You would have follow-up questions if you listen to the response of your interviewee or your respondent. That you will be able to pick up key points from there that will form your follow-up questions. These are things that we do every day, so I will not belabor them. And you respect the format. If it's in a press conference, you will be mindful of the format and time constraints. So you would craft your questions in a manner that would be answered within the allotted time. And then you have respect for other journalists too, and give them time so that they also can ask their own questions. It's not about you if it is a press conference. So if it's a one-on-one interview, you are in control, you are in charge, and you are the alpha and omega of that. But if it's a press conference, you have your journalist colleagues there. So you bear in mind the questions that you ask, the number of questions you ask, the kind of answer you would like to elicit from the respondents. And please be courteous and professional at all times. We are journalists. We have information. We rub shoulders with the high and mighty, but we must give honor to whom it is due. And so we should be courteous and respectful at all times. Then we listen attentively as the parliamentarians, they respond, and this will help you to identify whether you will need further clarification, or if you will need to do a follow-up question, or if you let that go. And it will also enable you to slide the conversation into another topic, and into another topic, and into another topic. And then avoid leading questions. We talked about that earlier, whether it is a yes or no answer, just allow your respondent to speak, and then you pick your information from there. Use relevant examples if you would, or if that is necessary. And then consider your audience as well. We are talking about regional parliaments. So I did say earlier that
Vivian.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clement?
Sorry to barge in. Yeah, sorry to barge in, but in the next 2 minutes, can you wrap up for us to go into the breakout session?
Okay.
Is it possible, or you need more time?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, since the material will be dropped on the platform and we are way behind time, so let me just conclude this part. Let me just conclude this part.
Okay. So in the next 2 minutes, we'll go into the breakout session, and then you will give us the question that we'll use for the breakout session. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. So we talked about considering your audience, and then there is the need for you to balance tough questions, because while it's important to ask challenging questions, it is also important that you balance them with questions that allow parliamentarians to explain their positions on the issues that you have raised. And then you could stay persistent, but you must or should try to be respectful. The word respect comes up again. So like we did say earlier, these issues, we cannot overemphasize them. We rub shoulders with the high and mighty, but we should also remain respectful, because we give honor to whom honor is due. So, well, we need to take a break to go into our breakout session, overcoming challenges in parliamentary reportage. You know that because we are dealing with different member states, so you have people from different countries, different orientations, and different ideologies, different political leanings, and different understanding of what, and so they are coming with a mandate, so to speak, of what the position of their country's parliament or their country is, because everyone goes to a negotiation table with what the policy or the foreign affairs policy of their country is. So that is what they will be coming with. You need to understand that you have limited access to information that concerns these countries and their parliamentary agendas as well. So that is something you will need to understand, and that is something you will have to find a way to work around it. But one way of working around it will be if you have visiting journalists from those countries, like we talked about earlier, you keep touch with them, and then you are able to get that information that you require. But then language could be a barrier. I have been trying to learn French for like God knows how many years. I don't think I have gone beyond Bonjour. But you see, if we are doing regional parliaments and we want to be effective, it will be good to be able to at least have, be able to greet. Let me put it that way. You know, hello, how are you? Welcome. Oh, thank you. Those simple words, you know, they help to break the ice. So language barrier is a challenge, but we could overcome language barrier by trying to be multilingual as well. Let me stop here and let me say that we could also overcome these challenges as they often require a combination of journalistic skills, persistence, and in some cases, advocacy for greater transparency and media access within the parliamentary system. Covering the regional parliaments is very interesting. I have been privileged to cover some, and I also follow some online. So some of the things they discuss, sometimes I laugh, you know, and I'm like, why should that be an issue in that country when in my country it's like this? But then, hey, environments differ. So what is a priority to me may not be a priority to you. But if we maintain keep in touch with ourselves and also following the websites and also following the activities on their social media handles, we could overcome some of these challenges. And then for language, we could try to learn second, third, fourth, even fifth languages. There are apps that could help with that. I don't know if they are 100% accurate, but at least you could have an idea. And then there are other people who run free classes. I know that Winnie on this call. Winnie has been trying to teach me Swahili for God knows how long. I don't know if I have gone beyond Asante Sana. So we could try, you know, to learn languages just so we could use them as the occasion may rise. So let me stop here. The material will be dropped on the WhatsApp platform. And if you have any questions, I'll be available. So for today, what we would be, I would like that we could look at, aside what we have talked about here, how could we further give visibility to the Pan-African Parliament. This group is about the Pan-African Parliament, but we also recognize that we are from other regional parliaments and national parliaments of our countries. So let us look at how we could give greater visibility and get the people to follow the Pan-African Parliament as it is the People's Parliament. Are you with us?
So Vivian, can you go over it again?
How do we give greater visibility to the Pan-African Parliament? Because so far I see we are just we are not giving that visibility as it should. And one of the objectives for setting up the APPN is to give visibility to the Pan-African Parliament. A lot of people do not know about the PAP. So we need to up our game. How can we do that, moving from where we are right now?
All right. Thank you so much. Vivian Idefefo. Today I've been...
Just pronounce the P as if it's a KP.
Okay, Idefefo. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have learned a lot today, and we are about to get into the breakout session where we are going to discuss how do we give greater visibility to the Pan-African Parliament. So we are going to do that, and we'll have 20 minutes to do that. We are learning that a lot of our colleagues do not contribute at the breakout session. Please, it's for all of us. We want you to contribute at the breakout session so that we all come up with good ideas to forge our way forward. It should not be in one person's head alone. That's why we are doing these discussions together. And then also another information is that after the breakout session, when we ask you to come back, please look for the button that says that leave room, not exit meeting. Because if you click the exit meeting, it's taking you out of the meeting. We experienced that the first training that we did, a lot of people failed to come back to the meeting because they click the exit meeting. So please use the leave room, then you come back to the program. So when we get there, we are going to elect somebody who will be our convener and somebody who will be our rapporteur. And that person will come back here and give us a report on what you discussed together. Thank you very much and see you soon. Come back. So Vivian, your students are back. We went into the breakout session. We went to do our discussions on the topic you gave to us. We are back here at your feet for a discussion. And therefore, I will now invite us. We went into the breakout session to do. And then after that, there will be a conclusion of the training today. And then we will home. We can go. Thank you very much, Vivian. Can you hear
Clement.
me?
Thank you, Clement.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so Enos, you were the convener of group 1, I think. And so who was the convener for the other group? If you could just give us the reports of what transpired at your own session.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much. So I was the note taker for group 1. We had a very elaborate discussion and a very fruitful one, of course, regarding the topic. And we came up with a series or a lot of suggestions as to how we can give greater visibility to the Pan-African Parliament. And then some of the suggestions were that APPN should give a lot of coverage to whatever is happening at PAP during their session. And so the issue of coverage was very much discussed. Whatever PAP is doing, there's a need for greater visibility to be given to what is happening there, so that various media houses can pick that up and then publish it as well. Apart from that, we also spoke about, there was also a suggestion that we should there should be some kind of comparative reporting where we compare the European Union and even PAP, look at what PAP is doing, and also look at what the EU is doing. So once we are able to compare that, we'll be able to report on what exactly PAP is doing, what are their objectives, where are they going. So getting to know all of this thing will help to give a better visibility to PAP. So that was also one of the things that was also discussed. And there was also a suggestion that for journalists reporting for PAP, their reporting should be based on data. That means that they should be able to do a research on the kind of policies that PAP is passing, the kind of discussions, and the kind of things that is happening there in a very decisive, backed by data. That would be very fruitful. So by so doing, the visibility that we want for PAP will be achieved. We also spoke about publishing pieces on what PAP is doing, just as I've mentioned, that are impacting their effectiveness. What are the things that they are doing? And so as journalists who are taking part in this course, what are the specific things that we should look out for at PAP that we can report, and that will give them that visibility that we are looking for. There was also an issue of suspicion among each other. And then as a way of countering that suspicion, there was a suggestion that journalists should write decisive stories that promote unity and that also highlight the sense of purpose and the objective of PAP. And also, there was also another suggestion that PAP should give more information. I mean, APPN should give more information on PAP, just as I've mentioned, that APPN should report on whatever is happening at PAP, and so that the various journalists in various countries could pick them up and then also make it visible in their countries through their media outlets. And also make available all press stories to the media. So journalists who are reporting for PAP, whatever information they have, they shouldn't sit on it. They should make it available to the media so that the media will also pick it up. And so those were some of the suggestions that the group were discussing. There was also another point that PAP itself should give the public clear objectives, what they are up to, what they are doing, so that the media outlet could follow what their objectives are, just to have a clear purpose and a sense of direction for PAP. So by so doing, journalists will be able to report accurately on what they are doing, what they intend to achieve, and where they are going. And by so doing, that will also give some kind of synergy and a sense of purpose. So that was also one of the things that was also mentioned. And then there was also a suggestion that PAP should put in place a proper structures for reporting. PAP itself should put in place the proper structures that will make it easier for journalists reporting for PAP to be able to have access to information very easily. So once they put in place the necessary structures, reporting for PAP will be very easier, and that will give them the visibility that they are looking for. Aside that, there was also a question on what journalists should do in order not to take sides. And that discussion, there were also some suggestions that journalists should be professional in their conduct, and also publishing PAP stories, just as I've mentioned. And so for journalists not to take sides, they should be very professional, and then publish whatever is happening at PAP with a very with a very open mind, not to take sides and being professional. There was also an issue of editorial policies of the media houses. That was also an issue as to whether the media houses, what kind of stories they are looking for, and even you, the journalist, after being to PAP, whether the media house will allow you to publish that story or what. So that was also an issue that needs to also be addressed. And then for journalists, there was also a suggestion that for journalists taking part in this training, there should be some kind of it should be some kind of compulsory thing for them to publish news regarding PAP at least every 2 weeks. And so let's say if you are 20 journalists who are taking part in this course, every 2 weeks at least they should publish a story regarding PAP or on whatever is happening at PAP. So that will also give the visibility as well. And then and finally, there was also a suggestion that PAP can sponsor all the journalists who are taking part in this course to take part in their sessions. That will give them the opportunity to familiarize themselves with what is happening at PAP and to be able to understand the nitty-gritty of their proceedings. And with that, they'll be able to report accurately, and then the visibility that we are looking for would be achieved. So in all, these are some of the things that we discussed. If I've left something out, maybe my colleagues in the group will want to add something to whatever I have spoken about. Thank you so much.
Wisdom, thank you. Yeah, is wisdom. Thank you so much. Thank you. I don't think there's anything you left out. No, it's Matthew, right? Or is it wisdom? I think it's wisdom. And also, who took notes for us?
It's Matthew.
Matthew, okay, sorry.
Yes, Matthew. Yeah.
Sorry, Matthew, sorry. Okay, so Matthew, thank you. I don't think you left anything out other than you didn't leave anything out. Everything you captured, everything. Yes. So the other group, I don't know who was your convener or who took notes for you. So if you could furnish us with what your discussion centered around your resolution.
Group 2, Satan or Settling.
My name is Intabelensi Tlako from Lesotho. I'm the convener of the group that I've been representing. Okay, anyway, our points, we are saying all country chapters should have social media presence and have accounts that are very action on social media and social media reports on a Pan-African Parliament so that it may reaches the audience very easily. And again, we are saying we should be dealing with issues on Parliament by uniting and building the strong unity as journalists to build our goals so that we may achieve more. Hello, everyone, I'm here.
Yes.
Okay.
You have
we
to
also,
we are all yes, we are with you.
Okay. We are saying we need to convey the right information to people or so that people may be able to know actually what is happening in the parliament and easily to access information and the reports on Pan-African Parliament. Another issues that we have raised, or another points that we have raised as a group, we are saying the Pan-African Parliament should be transparent to allow reports to be known easily, and to and the activities may be easily known, or not to be done secretly, because people are angry of getting news or knowing what is happening in Africa. Again, we are saying on our points, we say there should be an open door or the transparent policies for us as journalists to be able to report on communities on what is happening in Africa on Pan-African Parliament, and also in our parliamentarians in different countries. There should also be an open dealing that there should be an open situation where, or open doors where journalists can be able to access issues that are very sensitive. For example, when the parliamentarians are dealing with issues concerning corruptions, they almost every time they would like to not just that issues of interest of community to be known, but we should be able to investigate more and report more on that. That means we are saying as journalists we should connect and elaborate more on issues of investigations so that we can be able to sensitize communities on issues that are going all around. And also, we are saying we should parliamentarians have fear to talk to people. So it is our duty as journalists to talk to people and educate people about what is happening on Pan-African Parliament, and also with the parliamentarians issues happening around in our countries. So another last point we are saying, and when dealing with PAP, which is Pan-African Parliament, there should be also human resources, including the financial resources. These are the points that we have listed as ongoing of our own researches or our own points that we have elaborated. I don't know if my colleagues maybe add more on what I've said. Or the last point is this one of there should also be a social media platforms, and a Pan-African Parliament should have its own channel of TV where all over people should be able to access information and to see what is going on in Africa. And also there should be also a social media platforms where people can be able to add their views on what is happening. And there should also be a pool where we put data and the reports are being convert together so that it can be able or easy for us as journalists to access information. And the last one is that of where the journalist can go to Pan-African Parliament to get reports, and they wanted to report on Pan-African Parliament, but they can't be, it is not easy for them to get the reports or the information at the right time. So it is for us to raise awareness or to let the Pan-African parliamentarians to know that journalists need the real-time information. This is the end of our presentation, and thank you so much.
Thank you to Seteko.
Okay, so thank everyone for the contributions, for the presentations. The points are well noted, how we could increase the visibility of the Pan-African Parliament. If I could speak to some of the observations or some of the points that were raised. The Pan-African Parliament, of course, has its social media handles. And so you could just look them up. And I think Clement or Gilbert, somebody could just drop them the links on the platform, and you could just click on follow and all that. So maybe you will need to turn up the notification so that if there are any new releases, pictures, press statements, you will get notification and you would be able to follow. But like Group 2 did say, I think in this era of internet connectivity, we need to deploy more of the use of the social media. So I would suggest that we engage with the social media handles of the Pan-African Parliament as much as possible and set our notifications so that we could also have notices immediately something new comes up. And then we could give ourselves this assignment, I think, and I would like to conclude there. How many of us know our country delegates? The Pan-African Parliament has 5 delegates from each country. Do we know them? If we don't, can we give ourselves that assignment to go to the office of the clerk, to our national assemblies, and find out those, or we go to the Department or Directorate of Interparliamentary Affairs and find out who are the members representing your country at the Pan-African Parliament. That way, you would be able to follow up anytime there are notices of sessions, there are notices of committee activities, there are notices of oversight to institutions, there are interparliamentary visits and all that. And so you'll be able to ask them as follow-up to give you feedback when they went, when they got there. What did they do? What was your country's position that they took there, and what were the arguments for and against, and that way. And then if we keep having them as those who we interview on one-on-one programs, I think it is also something that will increase the visibility of the Pan-African Parliament per time. As for the PAP sponsoring journalists, that I don't know. I do not work for the PAP. I just know that we are here and we are interested in getting the visibility of this noble parliamentary institution out there so that people can actually follow. After all, it is your money, it is my money. So it's only fair, it's only proper that we know what our money is doing for us, who is spending our money, and what they are spending our money on. So when they go there, do they take our agendas there? Do they put there what we have sent them to do, you know? So it's good that we know who our representatives are so that we are able to hold them accountable. And by that, we are holding the Pan-African Parliament accountable. And by that, we are holding the African Union organization as an organization accountable. And by that, we are holding ourselves accountable as Africans. So I would like to conclude that for effective and efficient coverage of regional parliaments, we should engage our digital tools and also keep the communication lines with our colleagues open. So as a practice, or to be practical, we could start by saving our names as we are on the platforms. And you could add, what I do is to add the country of that person so that anytime I tap, I just know that this person is from this country, National Assembly of that country, and then I ask the person for what I need, and almost 96%, I get the response that I need. So thank you so much, and I hope that even though we started on time, let me very late. Let me apologize for the glitches again. These things are unforeseen, and it was never deliberate. These glitches, they do happen, never deliberate. And so I thank everyone for staying up to this moment. Thank you for giving me your attention, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Vivian, for all that, for spending the time with us and sharing your thoughts with us. I mean, we will take this with us and ensure that we make good use of our time with Parliament and reporting on this international parliaments like the Pan-African Parliament. So we thank you so much. And we also thank all of you who have spent your time to be with us today in this training. As Vivian said, this is technology, and sometimes we have these hitches. So forgive us, and we thank you for staying with us.